Before the wedding, my fiancé ruined my family, drove my parents to their deaths, then sent me to a yacht to be defiled. His brother pretended to save me, married me for 5 years, then turned around and caused my miscarriage for his mistress? I'll throw the divorce agreement, jump into the sea and disappear, and watch how those two scumbags beg me to come back. The day before the engagement, my fiancé caused my family's company to go bankrupt, took the money, and fled overseas with Jessica Thompson. My parents were driven to suicide by creditors. I went to the Wilson estate seeking justice. But Mr. and Mrs. Wilson drugged me and sent me to a gambling yacht. Dozens of men dragged me into a private cabin, filming countless humiliating videos. Just as I was about to jump into the sea in despair, my fiancé's brother suddenly appeared, becoming my only salvation. He cleared all obstacles for me and punished everyone who had bullied me. He said he had loved me for a long time and didn't mind my past. To marry me, he moved out of the Wilson estate and gave me a wedding of the century. 5 years into our marriage, I boarded a yacht again as Mrs. Wilson. But I accidentally overheard his conversation with a friend. "David, you were so ruthless back then, drugging Sarah Miller for Jessica Thompson, destroying her innocence. Now she's finally pregnant, and you bring her here to repeat the whole performance? Isn't that too cruel?" Cruel? I promised Jessie that only her child would inherit the Wilson estate. The brat in Sarah Miller's belly can't be kept. Besides, a woman this dirty isn't fit to bear my child. Did you get those guys from last time? Just like 5 years ago, don't hold back. Make sure Sarah Miller miscarries. And remember, don't let her catch on. So, the salvation I thought I found was just another abyss. The love I believed in was just a lie he meticulously crafted. In that case, I'll help him get what he won. T.S. On the deck, David Wilson faced the sea breeze, every word dripping with blood and regret. Since Jessie has chosen my brother, all I can do is remove all obstacles for her. Making the Miller Company go bankrupt was just the first step. Consider the Miller Company's funds my wedding gift to them. Sarah Miller is already dirty. A woman like that isn't fit to bear my child. His friend frowned, looking uneasy. But the men who dragged her into the private cabin 5 years ago were also hired by you. Sarah Miller has had depression because of that incident for years. You've been with her through the treatment every day. You know this better than anyone. Repeating it, how will she live? David Wilson's expression turned cold. He reached out and lit a cigarette. Through the haze of smoke, he spoke softly, "Worst case, I'll just keep going to her therapy sessions. Regardless, her child cannot be born. I promised Jessie that I wouldn't let Sarah Miller be a threat to her." What about Sarah Miller? Does she deserve to be manipulated like this? She's innocent. She loves you so much. How could you? David Wilson interrupted him coldly before he could finish. Enough. I told you, follow my plan. Blame it on her showing up at the wrong time. Give me the medicine. I need to go back and watch her drink it myself. Seeing he couldn't persuade him, the friend could only turn and leave. Tears streamed down uncontrollably, blown by the sea breeze into the night sky. I hugged myself, trembling uncontrollably. 5 years ago, Robert Wilson caused my family's company to go bankrupt, took all the money, and went overseas with Jessica Thompson. My parents were cornered by creditors and chose to jump to their deaths. I went alone to the Wilson estate, seeking justice. But they drugged me and sent me to this yacht, becoming a tool for release in the dark games of high society. Dozens of men dragged me into a private cabin, filming countless humiliating videos. In despair, I crawled onto the deck, ready to jump into the sea and end it all. It was David Wilson who suddenly appeared and held me in his arms, giving me the only warmth. He gently wiped away my tears and blood, stroke by stroke, saying, "Wait for me. I won't let a single person who hurt you get away." That night, screams echoed everywhere on the yacht. My body developed a stress reaction, suffering nightmares every night. It was also him who stayed by my side, comforting me by stroking my back when I woke up from a nightmare. He said he couldn't control Robert Wilson, but Robert Wilson owed me. He would repay it tenfold, 100-fold. To give me a wedding, he didn't hesitate to break ties with the Wilson estate and strike out on his own, declaring his love for me to the whole world. But in the end, 5 years of happiness was just an illusion. The one who saved me from the abyss was also the one who pushed me into hell. Stumbling back into the private cabin, David Wilson saw my pale face and his eyes turned red with anxiety. He pulled me into his arms, patting my back gently, just like before. "What's wrong, Sarah? Did something come back to you? Don't be afraid, I'm here with you this time, those men won't appear again. I specifically asked the doctor to bring you some medicine before we came up. Drink it in a bit, after the water cools." Looking at his falsely gentle eyes, I said softly, "David Wilson, I don't want to take the medicine anymore. I'm better now, I want to go home." The warmth in his eyes cooled slightly. He reached out and playfully tapped my nose. "Be a good girl, Sarah. Mental illnesses are prone to relapses. Taking the medicine will help you get better faster. After you take the medicine, you won't have nightmares anymore." Before I could speak, he had already put the medicine in my mouth. The warm W. A tear went down, but I felt utterly cold all over, as if certain I would soon lose consciousness after taking the medicine. David Wilson didn't stay with me any longer. He turned and quickly left the private cabin. I knew he was going to find those men from 5 years ago. Shattered, nightmarish memories flooded back. Cold sweat broke out all over me. I collapsed onto the floor, thrashing helplessly. Just as my consciousness blurred, warm lips landed on my forehead. "Shoo, Sarah, it will be over soon, I'll be waiting for you." What followed was a tearing pain. Blood gushed out beneath me. The familiar feeling overwhelmed me. Countless rough hands brushed against my skin. I don't know how long passed before I heard David Wilson's voice again. "She miscarried?" "She did, but Mr. Wilson, they didn't stop in time, it seems they went a bit too far. Miss Sarah probably won't be able to get pregnant again." "Excellent job. Double the commission. Go get your pay when you disembark." When I opened my eyes again, it was 5 hours later. David Wilson tightly clasped my hand, his eyes full of pain and tenderness. "I'm sorry. Sarah, I didn't protect you. It was those men from 5 years ago. They found out you were here and came for revenge. We couldn't save the baby. The doctor said you might not be able to get pregnant again. Don't worry. This time, I've caught them all. They won't appear again. Don't cry. No matter what happens, I'll be by your side. It's okay about the baby, it's gone, I just want you." I stared blankly at the floor. I was so numb, I couldn't even feel the pain. I was the one who suffered the humiliation and lost my baby. Yet he cried more sadly than I did. His acting was superb, and I couldn't be bothered to expose him. After a while, when he fell silent, I slowly said, avenging me, "Are you tired? David, you should rest." "I'm fine." Seeing I wasn't ting up, he let out a sigh of relief, closed his eyes, and lay beside me. His breathing gradually became steady. I quietly picked up his mobile phone. 5 years of marriage, and this was the first time I had unlocked his screen. The password was Jessica Thompson's birthday. The social media app in the background hadn't been exited. There was only one contact, labeled Jessie. Tapping on it, I saw messages between them from 5 years ago to now. The good mornings and good nights hadn't stopped, not for a single day. Jessica Thompson was overseas, but she sent David Wilson her daily schedule. It was either her shopping, drinking coffee, or working and having meetings at the company. No matter what she sent, David Wilson never seemed bored. One photo earned her $100,000 as a reward. David Wilson had been participating in her life this way the entire time, until 10,000 photos filled the photo gallery. As for my shares, he always only had one reply: "Sarah, I'm in a meeting. We'll talk after I get off work." To make Jessica Thompson happy, he had gifts from here sent to her through various channels. Auction orders filled dozens of pages on the screen. Many brands looked familiar. David Wilson had also given me one, but it was just a free gift from the auction for Jessica Thompson. The latest video in the photo gallery was from 5 hours ago. The cover showed me unconscious after taking the medicine. Standing beside me were dozens of familiar faces. My fingers trembled constantly. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't tap to open it. In the end, I awkwardly pressed the delete button. I turned off his mobile phone. David Wilson, since our beginning was a lie, this time, let me end it with a lie. Without hesitation, I sent a message to my best friend, asking her to drive a lifeboat and wait for me on the other side tomorrow night. IALS. Found a divorce agreement online, downloaded the electronic version, and added it to an email. After doing all this, David Wilson, in his sleep, broke out in a cold sweat. He kept murmuring, "Sarah, no, you can't be hurt. Sarah!" The moment he opened his eyes, he held me in his arms as if he had just found me again. Our chests were pressed tightly together, but our heartbeats were at different frequencies. After a while, he snapped back from his nightmare. "Thank goodness you're okay." Similar scenes had happened many times before. Before, I always thought it was because he loved me so deeply, he felt my pain. But now it seemed it was just going through the motions. Just superb acting. I lowered my head, letting him hold and comfort me. "Good girl, I'll go get you something to eat. Wait for me." The moment David Wilson left, I followed right behind him. He didn't go to the dining area, but turned towards a private cabin downstairs. The moment he stepped in, a slender wrist immediately wrapped around his shoulder, pulling him inside. I stood outside the door, listening to the rapid, shallow breaths inside. David Wilson said, his voice strained, "Finally decided to come back?" Jessica Thompson smiled radiantly, standing on tiptoe to kiss him on the corner of his lips. "If I didn't come back, I was afraid you'd actually fall in love with Sarah Miller. I heard you pulled the same trick again. She's been your wife for 5 years, and just got pregnant. How could you, David? If Sarah Miller found out, she'd be so furious she'd tear me apart." David Wilson chuckled, amused by her, holding her tighter and pinning her against the door. "I told you, with me here, no one dares touch you. As long as you're happy, I'll pave the way for you with her flesh and blood." A passing waiter noticed me and cried out in surprise, "Mrs. Wilson? What are you doing here? You haven't recovered yet, you shouldn't be walking around. If Mr. Wilson finds out, we'll definitely be fined. Let me take you back." With that said, the wealthy businessman passing by looked at me with a hint of mockery. "Is that Mr. Wilson's wife? The one who was just dragged into the private cabin by more than 10 men? I heard she's been defiled twice. Mr. Wilson is really something else. How can he stomach that? Twice. More than that. Each time there were over 10 men, it adds up. He's been cuckolded so many times it's ridiculous. He must be blind to fall for a woman like that. He'd probably throw up holding her at night. Who knows if it was forced or voluntary? Maybe she's not exactly a saint either. Otherwise, on such a big yacht, why is it always her having problems? This time the baby was lost. That kid was unlucky to have her as a mother." I stood there, my body nearly giving out. David Wilson heard the commotion outside and saw the scene when he came out. His face instantly turned deathly pale. A second before I hit the ground, he pulled me into his arms. "Sarah? What are you doing here? Are you feeling okay? I'll take you back." I didn't say anything, my gaze following past him to Jessica Thompson. "Afraid I would find out," David Wilson quickly explained. "Don't overthink it. Jessie just got back here. I happened to run into her and came to see her. That whole thing was 5 years ago. Jessie was afraid you'd be angry, so she stayed overseas. This time she finally came back. After all, we're family, so maybe we could just. Don't worry, as long as I'm here, Robert Wilson won't step foot in the door. Okay, it's in the past. I won't bring it up again." I knew what he wanted to say. Instead of letting myself be put in a passive position, I might as well bring it up myself. At least I could maintain some dignity. The passers-by who had been mocking me saw David Wilson come out, and instantly scattered. Sarah, long time no see. Jessica Thompson smiled as she greeted me, showing off the limited edition new arrival of a brand on her wrist. I nodded silently, suppressing my hurt, and spoke, "I just came out for some air. Since you're busy, I'll head back first, so I don't cause you any trouble here." David Wilson thought I was angry and followed me all the way back to the private cabin. His eyes were red with heartache. Seeing how eager he was to act, with the desire still lingering in his eyes, I suddenly felt like laughing. To make way for Jessica Thompson, he didn't hesitate to drug me and ruin my life. Now that he had what he wanted, I lived under everyone's scorn, unable to lift my head. Who was he putting on this act for? Don't worry, it's been 5 years, I've long forgotten. It was just too stuffy in the private cabin, and I kept thinking about things I shouldn't, so I came out for some air. David Wilson breathed a sigh of relief. He personally wiped away the tear stains from my eyes. After feeding me the medicine, he left the room again. This time he headed towards the dining area. 10 minutes later, a waiter slipped a dinner invitation under the door. I knew this was Jessica Thompson's doing, but I went anyway. Before leaving, I threw the suitcase I had brought into the sea. At the dinner, Jessica Thompson appeared wearing a designer gown. Every gesture exuded elegance. She was using Mrs. Wilson's name. Everyone was speculating about her relationship with David Wilson. Whispers and discussions drifted over. People came forward, raising their glasses to praise the couple, calling them a match made in heaven. David Wilson arrived in a hurry, busy socializing, and didn't notice me. Jessica Thompson, however, walked up and led me outside the private cabin. Her gaze swept over the bruises on my neck. She lifted her smiling face. "Sarah Miller. 5 years later, you're still useless. How was it, being dragged in? You couldn't protect the Miller Company then, and you can't protect your child now. You're a joke. Didn't you know? Those men weren't a coincidence. Your beloved husband arranged it all. When they were stripping you naked, he was right there watching. I almost pity you." Hatred surged within me. Before I could do anything, Jessica Thompson slapped herself twice across the face. The moment the scream rang out, she leaned forward, tumbled over the railing, and fell straight into the sea. Her thin body struggled in the water. Before I could react, I was heavily pushed to the ground by David Wilson. He didn't spare me a glance, turning and jumping in after her. The moment Jessica Thompson was rescued, she hid in his arms, sobbing continuously. David Wilson's gaze towards me no longer held any trace of the love from before. "Sarah Miller, what the hell is wrong with you? This is what you meant by 'it's in the past'? Jesse knew about your situation and came to see you out of kindness, wanting to explain the misunderstanding from back then. What gives you the right to lay a hand on her?" I lay awkwardly on the ground, my clothes askew, revealing the red marks on my skin. My expression grew colder. "Misunderstanding? Shouldn't you be the one explaining the misunderstanding from back then? If it weren't for you, how would I have fallen so low that she needed to visit me?" He frowned, a flicker of panic in his eyes. "Explain what? Didn't you know about the Miller Company's bankruptcy back then? I was kind enough to take you in. If you hadn't been disobedient and wandered off today, how could this have happened to you? Even if I were omnipresent, I couldn't be with you every second. You brought this on yourself. Why blame Jesse? Blame yourself for lacking self-respect." Sarah Miller apologized to Jesse. Before I could speak, Jessica Thompson had already burst into tears. "No, don't trouble Sarah. The Miller Company's bankruptcy back then was all my fault. I didn't stop Robert in time. I'm sorry to her. Consider what happened today my compensation to her. Since she hates me so much, let's not contact each other anymore from now on. I don't want to make things difficult for you." My fingernails dug hard into my palms, blood dripping down. Watching them walk away in a hug, I knew we were finished. 5 years of love turned to ash in that moment. The surrounding onlookers kept hurling insults. "Is that the Wilson Estates madam who's been defiled twice? She's already a slut and she still has the nerve to make trouble for Ms. Jessica Thompson? Doesn't she have any shame? At least Miss Thompson is pure and innocent, unlike her. No wonder Mr. Wilson hasn't taken her out these past few years. He must be embarrassed, right? He's a president, but he married a loose woman. And who knows whose kid that miscarried baby was. TSK, 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 the Wilson estate's reputation is completely ruined if this gets out. Ms. Jessica Thompson and Mr. Wilson are the perfect match. I heard they were together since college. If Ms. Thompson hadn't gone overseas, that woman would never have gotten through the door. No one else besides Mr. Wilson could be that blind. I stumbled back into the private cabin. The blood beneath me had soaked my dress. After cleaning myself up, David Wilson finally sent a message to explain, "Don't overthink what happened tonight. Jessie is my sister-in-law in name after all. Many of the people on the yacht are business partners of Wilson Corporation. If you hurt her, it would look bad. Asking you to apologize was just for show. How about I come back and make amends after I take care of her injuries? I said I'd get you a gift, so don't be upset, okay?" But I knew this act wasn't for outsiders at all. It was for me. This deep AF. Tie-in, he had faked it for 5 years. Now, it was time for it to end. I signed the divorce agreement, and along with the video screenshot from his mobile phone, I set it to send automatically. I took the medicine and sat on the edge of the bed until midnight. He still didn't come. Only a waiter brought news, saying the president of Wilson Corporation, on the yacht, displayed a fit of rage for his beloved. Jessica Thompson had merely fallen into the water and caught a chill, yet he summoned every doctor on the yacht. For this, he didn't hesitate to spend millions. At dawn, I called him. He was busy bidding on jewelry at an auction for Jessica Thompson and didn't pay attention to me. He publicly showered her with extravagant gifts. The envious murmurs of the surrounding guests rose and fell. Only then did he remember to answer the phone. "Sarah? I'm getting your gift ready. Are you feeling unwell? I'll send a doctor over first. I'll be right there." I lowered my head, watching the countdown for the email to send tick by second by second. In the main salon downstairs, David Wilson and Jessica Thompson were locked in a tight embrace. "It's fine. You can stay busy. I won't bother you. Okay. Wait for me in the room, good girl. Your husband will be there soon." The call ended. I turned and left the scene. The auction ended. David Wilson, as usual, gave the jewelry to Jessica Thompson. Leaving the complimentary item, he returned to the private cabin with the gift box. But the room was empty. He felt a sense of unease. Just as he was about to make a call, his friend suddenly burst in from outside, his face pale. "Something's wrong, David. Sarah Miller is in trouble. Those men from last time, somehow they didn't get off the yacht as planned. Someone saw them leaving with Sarah Miller." As he finished speaking, David Wilson's mobile phone rang. He received an email. David Wilson didn't have time to look at his mobile phone. He froze at the spot because of what his friend said. When he reacted, he grabbed his friend's collar. His anxious voice was trembling. "What are you talking about? I already paid those animals, didn't I? Why are they still on the yacht? Where's Sarah? Where did they take Sarah? Why did they act on their own?" His friend didn't expect David Wilson to lose control and frowned, shaking off his arm. "Calm down. The waiter said Sarah Miller found them herself and voluntarily went with them. David, do you think Sarah Miller might have found out what you did? Otherwise, after being dragged away by those men twice, she wouldn't possibly go with them willingly." David Wilson sank onto a chair, muttering repeatedly. "No, that's impossible. I personally gave Sarah the medicine and watched her drink it. She couldn't have been conscious. How would those men know where she was? Which waiter told you? Bring them here now. I'll question them myself. Sarah isn't well. She's been bleeding since the miscarriage. Something can't happen to her now. Those animals dared to go against the agreement? Dock the yacht now and wait for the police to take them all away. If anything happens to Sarah, I'll make them pay with their lives." His friend looked at David Wilson's red eyes and sighed heavily. "David, this was your decision. You personally gave Sarah Miller the medicine and watched her drink it. Her current situation is all because of you. Why are you so anxious? Calm down. If you call the police, with so many people involved, it's highly likely someone will expose you. You'd be walking right into a trap. The waiter is waiting outside. If you don't believe me, ask them yourself. The next second, the door was pushed open. The waiter, his face pale, knelt on the floor. Mr. Wilson, I don't know anything, I really don't. David Wilson's face turned cold, and he grabbed T.H. E. Man's neck. His right hand gradually tightened until the man's face turned bright red, then he spoke, I'll only ask you once. Where is Sarah Miller? Where was she taken? The waiter couldn't make a sound, only managing to mouth the words. It was those men, the men you brought, they took Mrs. Wilson away. Mrs. Wilson wasn't forced, she went willingly. A few people went towards the deck together. When I called someone over, they were all gone. Only a pile of clothes was left on the floor. Mrs. Wilson might have fallen into the sea. Hearing the words fell into the sea, David Wilson's brows instantly furrowed tightly. He lost control. He kicked him in the chest. What are you talking about? Sarah was waiting for me in the room just fine. How could she have gone out? She just called me, and she sounded perfectly normal. Unless those animals forced her, Sarah Miller wouldn't have gone with them. Something must have happened to her. Maybe those animals dragged her into the sea. She can't swim. I'm going to find her now. With that, David Wilson anxiously rushed towards the door. His friend quickly grabbed him and punched him in the face. Calm down. Didn't you hear what he said? Sarah Miller went with them herself. Unless she found out what you did and chose to go with them to her death, what other possibility is there? Didn't you always think she was in the way? Now Sarah Miller is gone, Jessica Thompson is right next door, the woman you've been dreaming of for 5 years is back. Why are you acting crazy? His friend's barrage of questions froze David Wilson's blood. He couldn't come back to his senses for a long time. That's right. He was the one who had caused all of this. Now Sarah Miller was in trouble. Why was he going crazy? He didn't know what was wrong with him either. From the moment Sarah Miller was dragged into the private cabin the second time, his emotions had started to feel out of control. A voice deep inside kept telling him, if he kept going like this, he would regret it. He had even had a moment of softness. But looking at Jessica Thompson's wronged, red eyes, he still chose to continue. Tears fell uncontrollably. David Wilson's body nearly collapsed. Jessica Thompson appeared just then, intimately linking her arm through his. Her voice was sweet and gentle. David, what's wrong? Did Sarah bother you again? You've spoiled her rotten with that temper of hers. She still thinks she's the Miller fortune's young miss. I know her, she'll realize she was wrong after a while. Women need to be treated coldly sometimes to be obedient. His friend, who had always disliked Jessica Thompson, snorted coldly at this. Obedient? I doubt she'll get the chance this lifetime. Just as you wished, Sarah Miller is gone, along with the men who humiliated her. A hint of delight flashed in Jessica Thompson's eyes, quickly replaced by an expression of worry. How could Sarah get involved with those men? David, she's not addicted, is she? I saw a science video about cases like this, where people develop a taste for it after being forced, then start soliciting. David, don't be sad. Sarah probably didn't mean to. If not, when she comes back, I'll find some doctors for her from overseas. Don't be sad, I'm here with you. Let's not look for her right now, so we don't interrupt their good time and affect your relationship. Looking at the same delicate and gentle face as before, a constant chill crept into David Wilson's heart. When Sarah Miller was taken by those men, Jessica Thompson was right there watching. She witnessed the torment Sarah Miller went through with her own eyes, and heard Sarah Miller's painful screams with her own ears. The image of her lying in a pool of blood was still vivid and horrifying. As a woman herself, it would be one thing if she didn't sympathize. But now she could say things like Sarah Miller willingly solicited them. Since when did this woman he thought he knew become someone he didn't recognize? He seemed to have never truly known her. For the first time, he felt disgust towards Jessica Thompson like this. Disgusted by her standing by and watching, and disgusted by himself for being the perpetrator. Turning his head away, he coldly let go of Jessica Thompson's hand. Enough! Sarah Miller isn't the kind of person you claim she is. There must be a misunderstanding about this. No matter what happened to her, I will find her. She is my wife. This doesn't concern you. Go back and rest. Unwillingness showed in Jessica Thompson's eyes. David Wilson had only taken 2 steps when she reached out and clutched her stomach, her expression turning painful. Ah, David, my stomach hurts so much. Did falling into the water last time hurt the baby? Can you take me to the hospital? It hurts so much. The same old act as before. But this time David Wilson didn't buy it. His cold gaze swept over her. David Wilson's expression remained unchanged, leaving only one sentence: if you're in pain, stay here. I'll call a doctor over. And quickly left the private cabin. On the way to the deck, the guests' mocking voices kept reaching his ears. I heard Mr. Wilson publicly showered Ms. Jessica Thompson with extravagant gifts. What a grand gesture, truly childhood sweethearts. No wonder he didn't care when his wife was harassed. Turns out he had someone else in his heart. That loose woman was probably just an actress he hired, right? Ms. Jessica Thompson is the one he truly cherishes. He just casually spends $200 million? Who would believe he doesn't love her? This party must have been thrown by Mr. Wilson for Ms. Jessica Thompson, too, right? We're all just here thanks to Ms. Thompson. Ms. Jessica T. Thompson is pure and innocent. Instead of loving her, would he love that loose woman? I heard Mrs. Wilson sought out those men again and left with them. You wouldn't know it looking at her, but she seems to have quite the appetite. The voices came through, word by word, suffocating David Wilson. Every word he heard was another stab to his heart. He didn't understand. He had clearly ordered the news of Sarah Miller being harmed to be sealed. The private cabin had been checked inside and out when it happened, and only his people were there. How did the guests get this information? What else did Sarah Miller go through while he was away? Did these people say these things to her face? He didn't dare think about it. He just felt his soul trembling. He had clearly planned it all out. After the dinner ended, the yacht would dock. Without the baby, he would take good care of Sarah Miller's health. He would stay with her through therapy with a psychologist. He would walk out of the darkness with her. Even without a child, he would spend the rest of his life making it up to Sarah Miller. With him, David Wilson, by her side, no one would dare disrespect her. But all his plans were ruined. In his panic, he quickened his pace. He soon reached the deck. But he only saw Sarah Miller's slippers. Those slippers were the ones he had personally picked out for Sarah Miller before coming up. He couldn't be mistaken. Other than that, there was no sign that she had been there. David Wilson's eyes turned red with anxiety. He turned and rushed into the surveillance room nearby. He started searching for records of Sarah Miller's last appearance. Seeing her standing with several large men, the moment she pushed the men into the sea, all the blood in his body froze instantly. She had found out after all. Found out that he hadn't only failed to avenge her, but had also allowed these men to stay on the yacht and enjoy themselves. On the screen, Sarah Miller pushed the men into the sea one by one. Finally, she jumped in herself. Her thin figure was swallowed by the sea, disappearing without a trace. David Wilson's face instantly turned pale. He slammed his hand on the table and stood up. Find them. Send the word now. Tell everyone to get in the water and save Sarah Miller. I want her alive, or I'll take her body back with me. The staff nearby didn't dare say anything else and quickly turned to comply. His friend frowned, looking puzzled. I really don't understand you. Your plan was to ruin Sarah Miller and make her miscarry. Now she knows the truth and chose to leave herself. What are you looking for her for? Find her, then what? Apologize to her corpse? Say she was the one you loved? Say you were forced to hire men to violate her and film the videos? David Wilson, don't be foolish. Sarah Miller is gone. No matter how much you do now, she can't see it. Before she left, she got rid of those men for you and kept your secret. She's done more than enough. Why do you insist on digging up these unspeakable matters again? His friend's barrage of questions hammered down one after another. David Wilson sank onto the chair, trembling uncontrollably. He didn't understand why he was doing this either. But the image of Sarah Miller falling into the sea remained before his eyes, haunting him. It seemed that at this moment, only finding Sarah Miller could barely bring him some peace. Losing control, he took out his mobile phone and unlocked the screen. Just as he was about to message Sarah Miller, he saw the email he had ignored for a long time. The sender was Sarah Miller. Inside was a video screenshot from the video he had filmed. Several men's rough hands were bulging with veins, vigorously pulling at her clothes. The image stung his eyes and pierced his heart. At the very bottom was a signed divorce agreement. Sarah Miller had signed her name, leaving the space blank for him. Helplessness flooded over him. He masochistically zoomed in on the screenshot, staring at it for a long time. In that moment, he finally realized. He had fallen in love with Sarah Miller, and understood what he had lost, what he had done wrong. But it was too late. Sarah Miller would never come back. The child they lost would certainly never come back. His friend also noticed the image on the screen and patted his shoulder comfortingly. Things are like this now, David. You have no way back. From the moment you caused the Miller Company's bankruptcy 5 years ago, you should have known your relationship could never be simple. You drove her parents to their deaths, and now you've caused hers and your child's. Even if Sarah Miller were alive, she could never forgive you. These 5 years of tenderness were stolen moments. His friend's words pulled his memory back to 5 years ago. The first time he saw Sarah Miller. She was kneeling at the gates of the Wilson estate. Her thin body was drenched in the downpour, yet her spine was ramrod straight. The defiance and hatred on her face were so striking that standing on the terrace, he could see the Miller heiress's spirit and dignity at a glance. Lightning flashed across the night sky. Her pale face was etched into his mind like that. He had also thought about whether he had gone too far, harming an innocent person. The thought of softening passed in an instant, quickly dispelled by Jessica Thompson's happy photos. He didn't hesitate any longer and continued with his plan, giving Sarah Miller the medicine, sending her onto the yacht, arranging for men to drag her into the private cabin. Step by step, burying this young lady of the Miller fortune, and burying his own conscience. When it happened, he waited outside the door, listening to the young woman's desperate screams, gradually becoming hoarse, gradually subsiding. Only then did he appear as the savior, saving her from the fire and water. Sarah Miller, having been through hellish torment, never doubted his words. He said he had brought the perpetrators to justice, and she believed him. Her weak body curled up in his arms, her eyes so dry she couldn't shed a single tear. Just like that, he kept the fragile creature by his side, protecting her, raising her, protecting her, for 5 years. The heart acts on its own. He had already, without realizing it, changed his attitude towards Sarah Miller. The subtle changes were ones even he hadn't noticed. The moment Sarah Miller was in trouble, the love suppressed by hatred exploded, burning him to ashes, leaving him covered in wounds. But it was all too late. Lost in thought, Jessica Thompson called again, hearing the distinctive ringtone on his mobile phone. His friend frowned and reminded him, "Don't mind me saying, this Jessica Thompson is no good. If it wasn't for her, you and Sarah Miller wouldn't have ended up like this." The idea to make the Miller Company go bankrupt 5 years ago was also hers, told to your brother. Dragging Sarah Miller into the private cabin was also her idea. If I'm not mistaken, that medicine was also from her, wasn't it? This kind of woman doesn't truly care about you. All she wants is to use your hand to ensure Sarah Miller can never recover. David Wilson also understood what his friend meant. He hung up the phone. He casually sent a voice message. You are Robert's wife. You don't need to contact me about everything. When the yacht docks, I'll have Robert come pick you up. Between us, this is the end. As soon as the message was sent, Jessica Thompson's call came in again. He had intended to simply reject it, but his trembling hand accidentally pressed answer. A choked, tearful voice instantly rang out. David? Did Sarah say something? If she blames me, I can go apologize to her face. I don't blame her for pushing me into the sea, it was my fault, I just lost my footing. Don't argue because of me. I already owe you both so much. His patience exhausted, his tone turned completely cold. Enough! We both know exactly how you fell into the sea and how the news about Sarah Miller's situation got out. Although Sarah hates you, she has never done anything to hurt you. It's you, on the other hand, who keeps refusing to let her go. Do you think I can't see what you're thinking? Robert isn't enough for you? Jessica Thompson, you've overstepped. Retribution will come for you sooner or later. I said this is the end between us. Don't contact me privately again, so Robert doesn't overthink things. That's it, goodbye. After speaking, he hung up the phone before Jessica Thompson could react. But his heart was still pounding violently, almost leaping out of his chest. Soon, the employees sent to search for Sarah Miller's whereabouts returned one by one. But there was still no sign of Sarah Miller. The moment the yacht docked, David Wilson chose to call the police. After an extensive search by the police, traces of Sarah Miller were found overseas. David Wilson didn't hesitate any longer. He handed over the company matters to his friend and turned to go to the airport. On the way, he sent a message to his brother, but not to plead for Jessica Thompson, but to tell him the truth. Jessica Thompson was his wife, he had the right to know what kind of person she was. As for what he would choose after knowing whether to leave or stay, that was his decision. He wouldn't interfere anymore. Meanwhile, I had been recovering at a hospital overseas for a week. The doctor examined me several times and said my body was severely damaged. Even if I recovered, I would never be able to have children again in this lifetime. I didn't react much, but my best friend kept expressing her indignation for me. When David Wilson arrived, it was already midnight. My best friend had fallen asleep slumped on the hospital bed. He stood alone by the window and watched for a very long time, until the horizon turned golden. He left behind a signed divorce agreement and turned to go to the airport.